Okay, we are here with Fraser Morgan. Good morning, Fraser.
Good morning, Kieran.
Are you doing all right?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's a bit of an early one today.
It is, yes.
But, that's what we have to do in the day and age of radio and stuff like that. So for people who don't know who you are, because I have met you a couple of times now,
Yes.
Explain who you are, your style, and how you came about, really.
Okay, yeah. So I guess in regards to music, I'm Fraser Morgan, and originally from Braintree, but spend all my time in Colchester. And I do music. I do what I've been told is folk punk, which is I didn't know. And yeah, I got into music by accident. I used to write poems and that as a kid because I just liked rhyming. Felt it was just fun. And then I just started to sing a little bit for a laugh. And then up until the age like 16, 17, I wanted to be a banker. But I think I played an open mic in my hometown when I was like 15 or so. I quite liked it. And then I remember being in sixth form and I was like, I think I want to do music. So on my lunch break, I went and applied for another college. And then I just did that, really. I'll be honest, I studied music at college level and university level. I didn't really get much from it. But the reason why I did go to university is just so I can get a student loan so I can go live in London for 3 years and have some beverages with some strangers until early hours of the next morning. And I did that in flying colours. So I would consider that a success.
Sounds great, yeah. It's London for the same thing, yeah. The student loan is quite nice. Although looking back at it now, it's I've seen that debt figure and it's not as exciting as it was when I was there.
No, I looked at it when I was drunk a few months ago. I was like, I wonder what it is. And I went, I just put a big downer on my night. Yeah. But then I was like, I'm never going to pay this back. Like, I'm not. I know I'm not.
It's something that they don't really tell you when you're going to uni and you kind of looking into open days. They don't really tell you. Well, yes, there is this figure that we kind of throw on you, but realistically, you're not paying the full amount ever.
No.
Unless you're very, very well off, which is fair enough, and I'm kind of jealous. But
Exactly, yeah. So, but I looked at the accruing, like the accruement of like interest, and I was like, ooh.
So back to music then. You say so you grew up kind of doing kind of lyrical pieces, I guess. If you learn from poems. What were your kind of inspirations then for like who you listened to and got that kind of music taste from?
It was weird, really, because I just listened to what my mum had growing up, as kids kind of generally do with their parents. So like it's like Phil Collins and Dolly Parton, David Gray. Actually, the album White Ladder is a prominent pillar in my musical childhood, if you will. And then I really got into it when the first ever album I asked for was Eminem's Curtain Call. And my mum bought it for me for my 8th Christmas. And that's not something you should buy your kids, I think. And she didn't know that at the time. But it's a brilliant album. And it just reinforced my love for rhyming and poetry, really. And so I kind of did that. And then it was Ed Sheeran. He kind of, when he came into the mainstream with just him singing and playing guitar, I was like, that sounds really fun. Like, I think I could kind of do that. And so my friend bought me a guitar for my 15th birthday. I didn't touch it for a while. And then I kind of got into it. I was like, oh, you can kind of do this. And I remember writing my first, what I wanted to be songs, really, when I was like 15, 16. And it's just like, it just kind of snowballed from there. And I'm not particularly anything massive or big, but I've gotten further realistically than I kind of thought I would. Like, I want to get as far as I can, but even I've gotten this far, like, and completely by myself as well, in regards to like, I haven't got anyone, no family industry. I haven't got a manager, or never have had any of that. The only support I've had is just from like really lovely people who just like see me on my music and they're like, yeah, we want to help you out, or we want to follow you, we want to spread the word. Like, I've gotten as far as I am because of them, and it's gotten to the point now where almost every weekend I've got my diary's just full of like gigs. And I guess really, if you sit back and think about it, and I've got a full-time job as well, you see, but like, if I really sit back, because I forget to kind of sit back and take appreciation. I'm scared to do it sometimes in case I feel like I'm going to stop. I've always got the visors on, but every weekend's just fully booked, more or less. And they're all gigs that I've booked. I haven't got a booking agent. I haven't got a manager. They are gigs that because people say to me, how do you get so many gigs? It's like, what are you doing? Like, I'm doing everything I can. Like, I'm almost like every other day, I'm Googling a city and taking down the email address of every music venue in that city and sending them an email. I'm constantly typing in promoters in different cities, seeing what I can get from there. Like, I'm constantly Googling email addresses and contacts of ways just to get a gig. I mean, how else would you get a gig? You know, like, I've just come back from a festival in Worcester and I thought that was really cool. And I was like, oh, Worcester's really nice. So I've gone through all the venues there today and copied their emails, sent them an email and said, hey, hello, how you doing? I'm Fraser. I do this. Would you have myself and or my band come by and play some tunes? And I think like there some people that I know are like booking agent stuff, and I've got on gigs that they haven't been able to get. And they're like, how do you do it? I'm like, I don't know. I think it's maybe the emailing. Like, in an email, I think everyone gets bombarded with emails all day, every day, right? It's always going to be the same thing. I've really badly worded, like bad spelling, bad grammar. And it's no reflection of that. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but they probably get so used to seeing the same thing. They become so desensitized to seeing the same email every day. You got to do something different. So I'm usually quite human. Like, when I write my emails, I write it with the intention of communicating with another human being rather than I'm emailing you to get something from you. So a lot of my emails are just stupid. They're just funny. Or like some emails, I change them about every couple of weeks so because I get bored of them. But the recent one is I started by saying, I hope you're doing well. You know, September is like rolling in and autumn's rolling in now. I hope you're keeping warm and looking after yourself and all that. Or like, and at the end, I take the mickey out of myself and self-depreciate my mullet. And I'm like, oh, if you don't fancy some idiot with a mullet, do you know who would? You know? And then, because at the end I'm asking, do you know any promoters of venues nearby who would? And that's worked so many times for me, because I had an email come back yesterday and they said, I'll be honest with you, not my sort of thing. However, we do have these 4 other venues that I think you should contact. So It's just be open, be honest, be funny, just be genuine. And then as long as what you do people find enjoyable, and I think you do those things, I think that will lead to your success. And you know, I haven't reached the success of which I would like to yet, but I think when I do reach that success, I think it will last longer because I've spent time practicing being a decent human being, you know, and like I've always, and we all make mistakes and say and do dumb stuff growing up. But it's just like navigating it so that you grow up, because a lot of people in the industry, they grow up when they're in the industry and they grow up when they're already big, so they haven't really got the space to grow up. Whereas I feel quite fortunate. I was chatting to my partner about this recently, that actually I've gone through loads of my therapy and loads of my growth outside of like the spotlight or the limelight. So I've done all my healing and growing and just learned how to be a proper human being. And like growing up wasn't exactly an ideal time for me sometimes, and so I've had to kind of unlearn some of that stuff and just try to learn how to be an adult and be a decent human being. And so by doing so, you then, I think, you just chat to people like they're humans as well, and they appreciate it more. And I think that's kind of...
Well, I think that's a really strong message in general. And I think for people who are kind of entering the music world especially, I mean, any industry realistically, because it's trying to get your name out there and get yourself heard so you can do something you enjoy. And I feel like a lot of people can get stuck back at, okay, it hasn't worked from what I've tried, so is it worth the extra kind of grind and push to be able to do it? And I think that's something that you've worked on for a nice amount of time, where you've been able to like do it professionally, really. I know you say you have a full-time job, but you do it a lot as well.
Yeah, I do it a lot. Like I try and do it too as professional standard as I can get. Okay. So like I've got like my press pack all sorted. I have my terms and conditions sorted and stuff. And it's just constantly curating this. And I've had some interest recently from a booking agent. And it's, for me in my head, I was like, it's taken a while. But I'm like, actually, you've got a really genuine one here. And that could that could be far more beneficial than, because I don't get me wrong, I've emailed so many booking agents and people and this and that and the other, not asking for the world, just for a bit of time and advice. But I think the genuine ones are the ones you kind of want and stuff. So
definitely, yeah. I think something that you also promote yourself as, and it's because you are, that you always say, like, especially on like your socials when you post different stories and things, how you're unsigned and you haven't got this team around you, and you say you do all these emailing and stuff yourself, and that's something that's really, for one, tricky to do in this world, because everybody's trying to push themselves out, and there's so many people now doing it compared to a decade or two ago when it was a bit easier. But to be able to do it on your own is very inspiring, again, for the people who are trying to get themselves out there. So what, apart from just sending out emails, did you have any other advice for them people who are young, especially because, they want to make themselves heard and they want to get their music out and stuff, and want to be able to play gigs and festivals and events? So what kind of advice do you have for the new artists out there?
For any new artists coming through, I would say so number one, obviously keep writing and writing your songs, because you think you're at your best now, and you probably are at your best now, and you'll always surprise yourself that your best will somehow become better. So there's songs that I've written in the past gone, that was a great song, and then 2 years down the line I've written another one, I've gone, I can see that my craft has really improved. The more you do something, the better you kind of get at it. A big thing is, like, honest to God, don't get too caught up in the numbers game. Like, when you first picked up that guitar, or you first wrote your first song, you didn't go, I'm going to do this so I get 1 million plays one day. You went, this is interesting, this is fun, it's a bit different. What's this about then? There was a playful curiosity behind it, and it's really hard to keep that sometimes because we are constantly playing a number. As we get older and we want to take it more seriously, we are kind of playing a numbers game. But what I've realised, if it's really frustrating, but if you do take your eyes off the numbers game and you just focus on, if you put your priority in making music that you like and making art that you like, the rest kind of follows, to the point where, like, I think yesterday I was just on my phone, I was like, I haven't even looked at my stats on my music in a while, and I looked and I went, oh cool, oh that's nice, oh, okay. Yeah. Like, I didn't know that's where it was at. And when I first started releasing music, it was like a numbers game, and I would get really down about it, and it just ruined it for myself. I stopped enjoying it. So I was constantly trying to chase this thing. And the other thing as well, it's so hard not to don't compare yourself to others. It's okay to look at someone for inspiration. I do that with artists. I will look at someone and go, I like what you're doing there. I'm going to take a little piece of that and I'm going to kind of not replicate it as such, but I'm going to put my own spin on that, because what you do there resonates with me. So I like that. But comparing yourself, it's very easy, especially if you compare yourself to artists who are within your pool of network, maybe locally, within your town, within your city. And you see one of those artists have got this gig, or one of them have just got this band or something. It's really easy for you to go, oh man, like that, I wish that was me. And then you get down in your head about it. Don't worry about it. Like, they're probably looking at you thinking the same thing, being like, oh, I wish I did that, what they did. So yeah, I always say comparison kills creativity. And so the minute you compare yourself, you're not going to want to do it. Like, could you imagine if I sit here and went, God, like, well, I'm not exactly sending out arenas like Ed Sheeran, am I? It's like, no, but if you look at your corner of the world, what are you doing? You're playing gigs to some people like up and down the country, chilling about, or playing in your local venues. Like, that's pretty cool within itself. You can't compare that. If we compared ourselves to everything that we did all the time, then the whole of life would just seem insignificant and pointless, which to a degree it kind of is, because it's weird life. But it's about finding your purpose within this life and just enjoying it. And the minute you start wandering off and thinking about stats and numbers and comparing and animosity towards other people, you're taking the life out of life. That's not where life is lived. So they're my kind of two biggest ones.
That's really, what I love about that is that it's not only applicable to music, so to speak, it's also applicable to any industry you want to go into if you have a passion for it.
Yeah,
I mean, but I come from a video and film background, and I have a radio side to me, which is why I present and stuff. And I think for me, when I am doing like a short film or a music video or a whatever kind of thing, when I film for Future Hits and stuff, it's I try and challenge myself. I try and outbeat myself in a way. So instead of worrying about the numbers and is this going to be good for the audience? Which obviously you've got to kind of be a thing if you're depending on what it is. But for me, I've looked back at my like portfolio and stuff, and I've seen, okay, I used to think that was good when I was doing it. Why is that not good anymore? So how can I beat it?
Yes.
And I think for me that works. Obviously, nothing works for everyone.
No, it's a good thing. Yeah, if you're going to compete with anyone, just compete with yourself. But even then, I try when I go into creating or doing a gig. I'm not saying right, this gig is going to be bigger and better than the last one, or I'm not saying this song is going to be better than the last one. Every time I go into a gig or a song, my main goal is to put on the best show that I can within that moment, and to write a song that truly reflects how I'm feeling about something, and being as honest and as open as I can within that song. Definitely. If I can do those two things, each time I do it is a success. So even though I've written songs where I've gone, I've looked at it and gone, you know, I wouldn't play that live, but I'm happy I wrote it because that was my best in that moment. That's okay. Mm-hmm. I've gone and played gigs sometimes, and I've been like, you know what? Okay, it wasn't a massive sold out venue, weren't thousands of people, might be 20 people there, but I had a hell of a good time. Like I played in Northampton on the weekend. There's probably about 7 or 8 people in a massive beer garden, but I got them interacting, I got them all laughing, and it was a really good environment, and I was really proud of myself because then I did my best that moment. There are some times where I come away from a gig and I've gone, you know what, I could have done this better, or could have done that. I might calm down on this, and that's brilliant because you can notice that. But yeah, it's just about giving it. As long as you're doing your best within that moment, it doesn't really matter. You don't even have to be beating your previous self, I think. Just create your best, and there's no such thing as failure. The only true failure is never trying at all. So as long as you get up and give it a go, then you've beat 95% of the people out there.
I think also going into that, it's also being able to look back as like an overall view rather than like nitpicking at certain things, and being kind of proud of both the journey you've taken to get to where you are now, but also of the stuff you've created. So for music, you know, if you look back at your like playlist of all your songs and stuff, and like what you play, you can say, I'm proud that I've come this far already, let alone what the future holds. But also, I'm proud of, if it's an individual piece, then it's that. But if it's like I'm proud of myself because I've done this and I didn't think I could, or
exactly. As long as you're releasing, well, in regards to music or creating in general, as long as what you're creating you like and you're proud of, it doesn't. Outside of that, it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, we're all just bags of skin walking around worried about what other people think about us all the time, and that's exhausting. Just like write what you want to write, create what you want to create, and those who like it, they'll be like, solid, thank you so much. Like the amount of things that exist out there now where people weren't creating it for other people, they just made it because they were like, I like this is cool, you know. So yeah, just kind of do it for yourself. I think is just just have fun, just enjoy it, because if you start putting numbers into it and you take you'll take the fun out of it and you won't want to do it. The same as like my view on exercise, right, is over this winter I want to shed a bit of weight, just because festival summer, it got to me and I let it get to me because it was fun. But now I'm like, right, I want to get back into exercise a bit, but I know that if I want to carry it on, I've got to do stuff that I enjoy. I used to be able to jog like 3-4 times a week and I was fine with that. Now I'm sick of jogging. I just can't be bothered with it anymore. But now, throughout the week, I play football on a Monday night. I play badminton on Tuesday. On a Wednesday, I play squash. I then just got a bike recently. Instead of doing one thing, I'm doing multiple things because I'm trying to enjoy it, right? And people would be like, you're riddled with ADHD. And maybe so. Maybe that's why I need to do all these different things. But doing them all once a week gives me a variety. So I'm still doing it, but I'm enjoying it. Whereas a lot of people who go and work out and they're just like, I don't want to be here. And it's like, then stop doing it if it's not making you happy. Find a sport that you do love that does make you happy. So it's the same when you're creating. Create because you enjoy it. The song doesn't have to be considered good. it doesn't even have to be a full song. It could be 4 sentences, and you go, "Oh, I'm happy. I wrote that down." It's just enjoy it yourself, and everyone else will enjoy it. This is what I found. Like when I'm on stage, I just go mental and I have fun because I want to jump around. I want to kick my legs about. I want to tap my feet. I want to dance and jiggle my junk because that's what I want to do. And because I'm enjoying it, humans have this sixth sense of picking up on energy and things, and then everyone else enjoys it. And all of a sudden it's this vibration that's flowing through the air and everyone's feeling it. And yeah, so it's just about enjoying what you're making and doing.
I think it's a really good note to be on, and enjoy what you want. If you want to do it, and just enjoy it, and then trust your own journey and trust the process of what you're going to do is because you enjoy it.
Exactly.
I think that's really, really strong.
And to be fair as well, that will sometimes delay the process in success. Sometimes you're not, instead of writing songs that you think other people like, you write songs just because you like, it might take a little bit slower to get there, but what you will build is a genuine foundation of people who like what you're doing, and then that flows and that becomes a really solid foundation and a long-lasting career. Whereas you get a lot of people who just want to write these chart toppers, and then all of a sudden their career falls off the edge of the cliff because that's how mainstream works, and now they're riddled with these mental health issues and they feel insignificant because no one knows who they are anymore. If you want longevity, create what you like, and it doesn't matter about the numbers as long as you like it, and then you get some better people around you. But yeah.
I think so. Moving on to more towards your actual gigs than itself, something you do which I personally haven't heard of somebody do before. I don't know if you have, but you like to number your gigs and you promote it with the number of gig it is. Explain if it was a way of coming that around, or if it just happened, or explain why you do that.
I was about 18 and I'd been playing music for a few years, but I hadn't really gigged that much. And a friend at the time was telling me about this artist called Frank Turner, and he numbers his gigs. And I was like, that's quite cool. Yeah, I guess I could do that, really. And I've listened to, Frank Turner's music is great. A lot of people compare me to him, which makes me laugh, because even though I do like his music, I've never considered him as an inspiration for my music. I've considered Ed Sheeran, Noah and the Whale, and the Front Bottoms as big kind of pillars within my music. But it's because of him that I just kind of started tracking things. And to anyone starting music, if you're performing, write it down, count it. If you go to an open mic in your hometown, you play 2 or 3 songs to people, write it down, count it. Some people will try and say oh, that doesn't count. It's why doesn't it count? Because you volunteered yourself rather than being asked. So if I'm asked to go and play, that counts as a gig. But if I go and play because I want to, that doesn't count. That makes no sense. It's a performance at the end of the day. Those performances, that number tracks how many times that you have performed. Mm-hmm. You don't do that with anything else. You don't go, oh, well, I only worked in Tesco for 2 years, so technically I was unemployed or something like that. So no, you still had a job, you still worked. It's the same thing. It doesn't matter. So I say to everyone out there, count anything and everything that you want to count. It doesn't matter. If you go busking, count it. Doesn't matter. You play there for half an hour to 45 minutes. Count it. Why doesn't it count? You've still that is still a sign of you putting the mileage in. If I drive to the shop, my car is going to go, he's only driven around the corner. I'm not going to add that to my mileage. Actually, I'm going to take that off for him. No, it's still going to rock up on the miles, and exactly the same. You're still putting your hours and your time in. So, and now I get to walk around and be like, yeah, I've almost played 900 gigs now. I've almost performed 900 times to an audience.
Yeah. So what are we on today? What's the current number?
898.
That's a very high number for one. What do you have any plans for the 900 for your 1000th?
Yeah. So, okay. Well, so Wednesday
that you can tell us.
So this Wednesday I got my 99th in Norwich, and then actually Friday I've made it so it's my 1000th. I got my numbers wrong a little bit recently, so I had to rejig them. I don't know what happened. I think it's just been a mental time, but I went through and I worked it all out properly, and I've got it solid now. But yeah, and then my 900th is this Friday, at Patch in Colchester, and I'm really looking forward to playing that. They're lovely people, really great food. It's a nice little vegan place. It's really small, and it's going to be a great night. And it's my 900th, so I'm trying to get everyone to come along. And also, the cafe themselves are paying us as a band, which is really nice. And so that goes towards me paying for. So I've got a new single coming out soon. That my cut of the money is going to help me pay for my artwork for that single, because I can't draw. I'm a rubbish artist, so I'll get my friend to help me do that. And then I'm spending like a good amount of money on a PR campaign. So all this money helps pay for that. In regards to my 1,000th, I've got. Why do people? I'm not going to keep it secret. I've got my 1,000th gig booked in.
Oh wow!
So it's. Am I meant to be saying this? I don't know. Actually, hold on a minute. I haven't got a manager. I haven't got a label. What are they going to do? They have to catch me first. I'm like a whippet. Anyway, have you seen that Louis Spence clip?
Yes, not recently. I do recall.
It's from that. But yeah, so my 1,000th gig is booked in on June the 8th, 2024 at Colchester Arts Centre. So it's going to be my big 1,000th gig. I will I have to line it up so that I don't play too many. I don't play too little.
I'll tell you, what happens if you don't get either to 1,000 or go over it?
Let's be honest, Kieran. My main concern is going to be going over, isn't it? Let's be honest.
It's true, because I remember when we were at a festival in the Gardens, which was, I don't remember what month it was, but it was earlier in the year, and you were saying you had, in a week, you had like 10 gigs or something?
I think so.
7 days?
Something like
over
that.
Period. It was something like that. So it is very possible, for only being 100 gigs in June, now it's September, that it's plausible.
Yeah.
So what happens then?
I've got to slow down. But the thing is as well is I'm going to have to be a bit pickier with my gigs. I'm not gigging locally at all until that gig. And on the night, so I'm doing this thing where I'm going to make, so if you're like unemployed, or if you're a student, if you're a nurse, if you're a teacher, if you're a police officer, if you're in the army, anything like that where you're part of a service or you're just not in a fortunate position, I'm doing cheaper tickets. I'm not asking anyone to prove it. I'm just saying, the kindness of your heart, you can pick which one you want, but I want to fill this place out. I would be one of the only people unsigned and unmanaged to sell out the Colchester Arts Centre on the night as well. I'm going to get down 2 charities, Musicians Supporting the Homeless and Outhouse, which is an LGBTQIA plus charity. I'm going to be collecting money for them, and then a good percentage of the money that we take on the door is going to go towards the 2 charities as well. And then I've got 2 really awesome support acts and a couple of surprises for the night as well. And it's just going to be an incredibly huge night of celebration, because I know that I'm quite lucky. The people who like my music aren't idiots. They're actually really lovely people, and I'm really appreciative for that. And I know when I step into that room, and fingers crossed, there's 400 people there. I know all 400 people are going to be there because they're lovely people. They want a good time, and they just want to be nice to each other. And it's going to be a night of celebration, not only of my 1,000th gig, but of life and love itself, I believe.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that will be very exciting. I mean, still a bit away, so you got a bit of time to kind of...
I've got, 9 months? No, 9 months.
Something like that?
9 months to 100 gigs, that's easy. That's rookie numbers.
For you, that's very, very plausible, yeah.
I did 200 last year. And so far this year, I started on 776. So I've always played 134 gigs this year. No, 124 already.
There you go. So you're saying that's from the beginning of this year? So that's your 9 months. You've done 134 in
124 in 9 months.
There you go. So the next 9 months before your 1,000th, you can get your next 100 and
easily.
Whatever it is.
So easily.
102.
Yeah.
And then that date in June, everyone going to be there over at Colchester Art.
Absolutely.
We're all going to be vibing.
Yeah, it's going to be brilliant.
Very, very exciting. So what you do, which is, again, very interesting, is that you don't have a particular tour, you just travel, right?
Yeah, so basically I booked so many gigs, I was like, is this not a tour? Like, is it not? Like, I barely play in my own hometown anymore because of Media Mating so many people. I'm getting gigs everywhere. I just literally booked a gig for February next year in like Margate, and then I booked something else for I can't remember. There's quite a few coming through at the moment, which is awesome for like 2024. But yeah, what I do is I book gigs, and I looked at it and I was like, I'm literally like never about anymore. Like none of my friends see me in Colchester because I'm never here. And I'm like, is this not basically a tour? Like, even though it's not like one every day, it's still at least 2 to 3 every weekend. Now, I'm sorry, but that's 52 weeks of non-stop back-to-back gigging. Yeah. I consider that a little bit of a tour. So I just says the road to everywhere. Because I was going to just call it like a gig list, but I'm like, but I've got a year-long gig list. So
yeah, it's quite long for a gig list. Yeah, it's definitely a tour. It's just there's no break in the tour, so it's just constantly going.
But I think next year I'm going to come up with another name for another one.
So once you hit 1,000, Jay, you can have a new source of the next 1,000.
I think, actually, you know what? I think next year's, actually, you just give me an idea. I think next year's is going to be the road to 1,000.
There you go. Starting from January,
road to 1,000.
So that's very exciting for the near future. In the next 9 months, road to 1,000.
Road to 1,000.
It's going to happen as well. It's not
No,
it's not just going to stop. It's going to happen.
No, like it will happen. June the 8th will be my 1,000th gig. It's up to you if you're there or not. But how often do you get to go to someone's 1,000th gig and raise money for an LGBT charity and a homeless charity and just be around nice people?
I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't know if it's their 100, if it's their 1,000th gig.
No,
they probably not keep on count. They just go to it.
Yeah, they just
for another gig.
Exactly. Whereas
nice landmark.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. I'm really excited. So,
gigs in general, what do gigs make you feel like either when you're performing or going to them? And then, do you have any massively memorable gigs that you remember specifically that was a really fun night because of something?
Oh, geez. I mean,
count back all 900. I
was going to say, I was like, you can't do that to me.
Maybe just this year if you can.
Okay, I tell you what, I've got a gig list. I write down all my gigs and where I've played, how many times I played it. And let me open it up because that will really help me out because there are so many to remember. Right? I've played over 300 venues now, or 300 different locations. I think it's 3, or is it 2? I don't know. I've lost count.
That's all nationwide as well, which is incredible.
That's nationwide. There's a couple in Ireland as well in there, and also one in Copenhagen, which is cool. Let's have a look.
Is it nice over there?
Huh?
Is Copenhagen nice?
Mate, Copenhagen's gorgeous. Oh. It's so nice. It's a bit expensive. It's absolutely beautiful though. So let's go through the solo ones first. Yeah, so I've done probably about 340 different gig locations. Crikey, there's loads here. I mean, I remember when Canterbury used to have City Sound Project. That was cool. I played that, and Big Nasty was there. That was pretty funny.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was really funny. Is there any specific gig stories? I think all of them are always just chaos anyway, to be honest with you.
I think that's something you do bring to. I mean, I've only been to 2 of your gigs, but just in general, there's always energy. There's always a really high vibe between you and the audience as well, and they're always lovely.
There's always something new happening.
Always something
at every gig. I mean, I've really gone.
What's interesting is that you always have this vibe and you always have this energy, but you're a big mental health advocate within your music.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting how you approach that. For one, lightly, because it's always a tough topic to be able to talk about when you use, if it's your own experience or somebody you know, and being able to perform that with such energy and a vibe with the audience is a really fun and interesting contrast you get.
Yeah, it's massively. And I think, I mean, I grew up as a people pleaser, as people have different backgrounds and childhoods. Unfortunately, mine, I had to learn how to grow up to look after and control other people's emotions. So I've felt a sense of safety and control in my life. However, that's in a funny way has benefited me because now I have this sense of knowing how to work with people's emotions, and so I know how to deliver certain things to certain rooms, and yeah, I base my set lists on dynamics. So I'm going up and down in terms of emotion and vibe. I do that on purpose because some of the least memorable artists I've probably seen, I don't remember for a reason, because it felt quite monotone, and it was all like kind of blurred into one. I don't want my songs to blur into one. I want people to specifically remember like songs, and so so I work in that, and so it's always, I write lots of different themes and lots of different topics and stuff. I don't write about the same thing very rarely, really, other than like the general gist of maybe romance, or more the longing for romance and love is kind of my actual kind of theme through a couple of songs. But yeah, and I want to keep people on their toes, and so that's why the deep songs feel very deep, and the energetic songs feel very energetic. And I always try and start my set on a really, really energetic song, so it captures people's attention like instantly. I want them engaged from the get-go, because if I start really slow and chill, they're going to get this kind of idea of like, oh, right, yeah, he's just, just like another one of those artists. Whereas I want to come in and, probably swear at them and be like, hello, and is a song about getting drunk and doing dumb stuff, you're great, let's go, and then just go mental. Like, I instantly want to catch their attention.
And it always does as well. It
is fun, yeah.
Sometimes they're surprised for it, but they're always with it, which is great.
Sometimes people are like, oh, okay, cool. But it's very rarely taken badly, which is quite nice. And even if it is, like, I've just kind of learned to be like, okay, it's not your music. Like, I don't walk into a broccoli shop and I'm like, stop serving broccoli, I hate it. It's like, don't go eat broccoli then. Go to Subway.
It's a very interesting comparison.
It's the same thing. It's like when people don't like something, it's like, okay, you don't have to listen to it. The same as like, I don't wear women's clothes. I don't go into women's clothes shops be like, take this down, I don't wear this. It's like, no, I go into my men's clothes shops. I go into those sections. So it's the same thing with music. So, but depersonalizing that was quite difficult at the start. Be like, oh, if someone doesn't like it, I guess I'm bad. A lot of like rejection feeling in there, but just get over it and be like, oh, I like it. And
yeah, it loops well back to what we said earlier, when how to do it because you like it and because you enjoy it and you have that passion for it.
Yeah, like I played this
rejection, something that everybody has, and
you got to get used to it. You got to get used to it. I played this gig at in Kingston upon Thames, a place called, I believe it's called the Fighting Cocks, and I finished this set, and this guy came up to me. He was like, "It's very good, but we've heard it before. I want something new." And I said to him, I was like, what is it that you'd want then? He goes, I don't know. I'm like, what am I meant to do with that then?
Yeah.
Like,
I went to uni at Kingston, so I know that place.
Did you? Okay. I believe this guy was like, this guy was just like Lithuanian guy, I think. And it was like, what? You do something different. You've heard it before. And I was like, okay, like if you have an opinion of my music and you want to see something better or different or changed, then let me know what it is. You can't be like, do something different. I'm like, what? And he's like, I don't know, just do something different. Like, go home. Grow up.
So moving on to the present then, and something that you've been promoting as of the last week or two, is that your new song is out.
Yes, almost 3 weeks. Yes, Call Me Mate.
Is it 3 weeks?
Oh, is it 3 weeks? Wait, Monday, Wednesday. 2 weeks. You're right.
Is it 2 weeks, yeah? I see 3 sounds a bit.
It feels like it's been out for 2 weeks because so much has happened with it, but yeah.
You've been very busy as well, so I don't blame you. But yes, your new song is out. It's called Call Me Mate. Talk about it, because it's quite a touching song, and it's got a very strong narrative to it, doesn't it? So talk about the song and what it means to you.
Yeah, so I'm really into my mental health and stuff, and you'll see if you really look at my songs, a lot of them are deep down. I try to get them to be informative in some way. Some of my songs, I like people to walk away with a bit of like knowledge or something, or an understanding of something they didn't have before. Same as like mistakes don't define you. I want people to walk away and be like, oh no, it's actually okay to be like this. Or Here We Go Again is about mental health and intrusive or sticky thoughts and stuff. And so I want people to come away with a sense of like being able to find a bit of refuge within the song about themselves. And with Call Me Mate, it was intentionally written for that purpose. So I had a friend who I found out who'd passed away, and weren't like massively close, but when I saw them, like we got on really well. It was a lovely, lovely, lovely person. amazing. And I'd seen online that they'd passed away, and I'd found out that they made the decision to move on to the next life themselves. And that hit me, and I was like, damn. And I remember trying to work out what had happened, and I was just scrolling their Facebook every day, just trying to find something. And all I saw was just all of his friends and family sharing these memories and feelings and this celebration of life. And like, it really got me down. And my partner was like, you've got to stop. Like, you've got to stop now. And then that week, everywhere I looked, there was just something new about a lad who had taken their own life. And I was like, this is a lot. There's a lot of it. What is going on? Like, I remember seeing this post on Facebook. This one lad had written like, you know what, nah, this is it, I'm done. And then after that post, he went and took his own life. And I saw like another one, and I was just like, this is a natural epidemic, pandemic. Like, it is on that wavelength of it. And I just got really upset. And like, it just made me sad that people around the world were finding themselves in these positions, just because I know that there's a darkness within people, and it's painful and it hurts and it sits there, and you feel scared and alone and you dislike yourself. And people think that when someone takes their own life, they're being really selfish, but in their head, they're actually being really selfless. 9 times out of 10, they feel like a burden. And the reason why they haven't told anyone that they're doing it is because they don't want to be an added burden. And so it really got me down. And during that time, I'd found a love. I'd listened to the Streets growing up a bit, but I'd really been actively listening to them a few weeks prior. And I just listened to the Streets' second album, My Grand Don't Come For Free. I was listening to it on the way to a gig, and when I come back, and it's just one of the best albums I've ever heard in my life. It's incredible. It tackles themes of kind of fragile masculinity, friendship, love. It's just, incredible album that brings you full circle from start to finish. And I was like, I want to do something with these feelings that I have of like, I just want to help people, and I can't talk to everyone. And to be honest with you, I don't really want to have deep conversations with everyone I meet about their mental health, because I don't think I as a human being would have the capacity for it. But I want something that people can take away and listen to themselves and do whatever they need to. And this is probably the first song I wrote that wasn't about me as such. Even though these are things I've experienced, my song Mistakes Don't Define You is about how I made a mistake when I was drunk. I felt really bad and wanted to pass that on. And same with like, Here We Go Again, it's like about me. Whereas Call Me Mate wasn't about me. It's not about me at all. And that's why when I wrote it, I didn't like it. I didn't like the song for a while, but I was meant to be releasing another song, and I wrote it and I was like, this song needs to come out as soon as possible. And I released it for Suicide Awareness Day. And I was going to write to like, Dry Your Eyes Mate by the Streets. I was going to write a version of that about men's mental health, so that the chorus would be Dry Your Eyes Mate. And I was like, if that song does really well, I don't want to be the guy who did the Streets Dry Your Eyes Mate, but for men, like, I want to do it myself. So I just wrote like a chord progression, and then I intentionally start the song. So the first third of the song with the verses is intentionally written from a first person's point of view, so that men listening go, I relate to that. So the song is intentionally written to give people a vocabulary or a feeling or some sentences that they can relate to, that maybe they didn't have the vocabulary to express themselves. So, and I start the song, I've been going through some stuff, but not sure how to say it. I thought about religion, but I'm not one for praying. And I want, if people are out there struggling, I want them to be able to listen and go, yeah, I've been struggling too. And then the next verse, I'm praying. What is it? So I've been going through stuff, I'm not sure. It's all about religion, but I'm not one for praying. Times have been hard, my mind's been going ballistic, considered ending it all, but don't want to be a statistic. And like the whole first third is about, I want someone to listen to it and go, that's me. And then the next group of verses, the second third of the song, is about my friends who took their own life, and how I noticed that him taking his life, the pain didn't stop at him. It just moved on to the people around him. So even though people at that moment believe that's where it stops, it's not. It then spreads out. And, you know, it's a difficult one to navigate, because the worst thing you could say to someone is, oh, don't take your life. What about the people around you you're going to upset? Because in their head, they're a burden. And like, I think it's only like 20, 30% of people leave a note when they do it anyway. But most of the time, those people think they're a burden. So that's not going to help anyone. And then I wrote I put myself in his shoes. I think about his last moments, how he felt that he could, this would be the only way he could solve it. And I intentionally put in, I know your mates don't want to see you lose it all. They'd rather you cry on their shoulder than attend your funeral. And that quote came from Paddy the Baddy, the UFC fighter, because I heard him say it in a speech once, and that really stuck with me. Like in the start of the second verses, see, I think about my friend who moved on to the next life. That's a direct quote from Matthew McConaughey, who finds out about his friend in an interview who passed away, and he says words, and to me, it's such a beautiful way to say it. And then the last third of the song is directly at men. It's like, you know, it's directly saying, look, we're guys. Some of us don't want to talk about our stuff because we're scared we look weak or as vulnerable. But you know what? If you don't talk about your stuff, I am most likely to die by taking my own life as a man under 50 than anything else. So we need to sort it out. And if you have any friends out there who are struggling with their mental health, you talk to them, reach out to them. Even if they try and reject it, still do it, because deep down that will stand out to them. Like, that could really save a life and just prevent suffering. And the chorus is, know that I'm here for you and everything you go through. So before it's too late, just know that you can call me, mate. And that's intention. And the song initially had swearing in, but I took all the swearing out and changed it around. And it's just it's just a song that I've written for people who have been on the edge and for those who have lost someone. And I just want it to be a song that can help people. And I've had lots of people reach out to me and be like, thank you for writing that song. And the reaction I've had from men since playing it live has changed. I love the song now because I had a chance to play it live. And a lot of men will come up and be, great set, whatever. But some of them will come up to me and look at me in the eye in a certain way and go, good set, or nice set, thank you. And there's a sense of sincerity and depth to it that didn't usually happen before I played the song. And I know it's them going, I needed to hear that song, thank you. And I've had so many men come up to me. I've had men crying in the audiences. First time I cried it, I had 5 guys come up to me afterwards with like tears in their eyes and crying, be like, thank you for writing that. So it's out there. There's men everywhere hurting. They're everywhere. And I'm willing to, I'm not a mental health guru. I don't consider myself to be a mental health person. I'm just, what I consider myself to be is just a human who is not scared to talk about their emotions. Because I know if I do it, at least one person out there will go, me too. And I've got nothing to be ashamed of.
It's a very good song. It has a very strong message in it. I think it's something that a lot of people, when they look back at hearing it, they're glad they heard it. And you can tell from the feedback you've had, and it's stuff you post and you talk about on your socials a lot, and how you've met these people in the audience and they have come to you afterwards.
Yeah.
So I think in general, the song's really, really strong. I think we have been improving the awareness for men's mental health and mental health in general, but it's something that can always be pushed. And I know, is it October 10th is Mental Health Day? I believe
it was September the 10th just gone. That's why I released a song a couple of days ahead of that day intentionally.
Yeah. And there is another day in October because we're putting on an event about it.
Okay, I didn't know that.
I can get the details. Okay. I can't remember off the top of my head. But it's around mid-October. There's something to do with Mental Health Day or something. Because we're putting an event off in Huxton.
Oh, cool.
In London. So we are putting that on for people who are around that area. But yeah, I think the song's great, and it's definitely had a really good reception to yourself. So
yeah, it has. It's I was just gonna see if I could look up the date there, but no, it's been really well received, and I've had all sorts of people come up to me and be like, I've been there, or I've lost someone, and I just think it gives them a space to release that emotion. How many songs out there are actually about people taking their own life and being like, look, come on, cop on. Like, talk. I know it doesn't fix everything. I'm fully aware of that. And that is such an easy plaster. But it's at least the first step. Because if you definitely don't talk and you keep it inside, then you're just going to create this storm within yourself. The best thing I ever do with my mental health is I talk about it to my friends, because even if I don't listen to what they're saying or they give me advice and I'm still spinning around in my little loop that I get myself in, at least I'm getting it out, and at least they know. That's the important thing. And then with that, I don't feel isolated, because sometimes depression or anxiety they're very isolating feelings. They make you feel like you're in like a trapped little ball, and you can't get out. And so, they're very isolating, those feelings of anxiety and depression. They're very like, I want to be by myself. I'm going to go by myself. Like, and it's very easy and comfortable to do so. And I just think it's really important to, really just be nice to each other, man. Just look out for each other as mates. I think that's what the song is about. The song is just about, just look out for each other, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people can get stuck in that loop of either thinking they don't want help or not knowing how to get help. But there's always somebody who would want to talk to you.
Yeah.
Try and do it.
Yeah.
It's easy to say as a bystander, say you just go talk to someone. Mm-hmm. But if you're able to find a way of being able to, it can really benefit you.
Yeah, massively.
Yeah. So coming to the end of our interview now, it's been a big fun one, a very interesting one. What I like to do is I like my interviewees to be able to ask a question for the next person on. Mm-hmm. And they'll have it all anonymous. So do you have a question that you'd like to ask? It could be funny, it could be serious, it could be music related, it could not. Absolutely anything.
What would I say? Maybe, do you stop and appreciate? Do you stop and how would I word it? Do you think you take enough time to stop and appreciate for the life that you have and the love you have in it?
That's a very good question. I think that's something everybody can kind of sit back and reflect on now. So anybody who has their afternoon free later on, maybe something that you can kind of come back to and have a think.
Because it's very easy for us to get trapped in, I wish I had this more, I could do it, I wish I was gigging more, I wish I was out here more. But then I stopped for a second the other day and I realised, like, as I was getting like some takeaway food in my house share that I live in, I remembered that like 5-6 years ago I was homeless and had like lived off a couple of quid a week, and I stopped there and I was like actively appreciating where I am right now. I've been in worse times, I might be in better times, but just stop for a second, just breathe. Like, the world is mental, I get it, but just take a second to be like, think about your friends and how awesome they are and how much you love them. Think about the fact that, you know, a majority of us have a roof over our heads and we have facilities to clean our clothes and cook our food and talk to people and stuff. Like, even our health, like, maybe some people have bad health, but maybe you have difficulties or problems with your knees, but your shoulders are okay. And out there, someone's shoulders aren't okay. And it's just actively taking a stock and inventory of yourself and what you do have.
Yeah, amazing. So where can people find you on the socials and wherever else on the music platforms?
So Instagram and Facebook, all of that. It's Fraser Morgan, FraserMorgan. Just type that in. I usually come up. I'm usually the first one, which is helpful. Depending on how this music goes, maybe OnlyFans one day. But until then, we're not quite there yet, so that's good.
That's the special for the 1,000th.
That's the announcement at the end of that game.
It's secretly a Magic Mike show as well.
Yeah, it's not my 1,000th gig. Come on.
So Fraser Morgan, if you type that into any of your socials or your music platforms, you can find him and listen to anything that he has going, because it's all amazing. I'll be honest, I have a couple of songs in my own playlist, let alone just being on platforms. I do listen to it quite regularly because they're amazing songs. I do encourage everybody to go listen to Fraser. So what we'll do now is we'll play your new song, Call Me Mate. It is on our software. So would you like to introduce your song, Call Me Mate, for Farrell?
Please. I'm Fraser Morgan, and this is my song, Call Me Mate.
Amazing. Thank you, Fraser.
Thank you, Legend.